Hello, Hebron Christian Academy. In this video training, we are going to talk about your initial class setup and scheduling scenes in GoGuardian. So GoGuardian is a tool that allows us to monitor student devices. We can physically see what is on the student's screen in real time. We can allow certain websites, restrict certain websites, and even push content to our students by using GoGuardian. So the first thing we're going to do is from the Hebron Launchpad, you will enter into GoGuardian and it's going to take you to your teacher interface. The very first thing that you will see is that you have pending classrooms. This is something that you'll need to hop over to pending and accept certain classrooms. Now, at my lower levels, I would accept the homeroom classroom that's populated. In my 4th and 5th grade classes, when they start rotating classrooms, you might want to accept the language arts, the math, the science, the social studies. Those teachers who have multiple sections within one class period, so primarily I'm talking about my foreign language teachers, you may want to opt to do a Google Classroom import as opposed to accepting all of these pending classes. And I would just strongly encourage you to meet one-on-one with the tech team to learn how to do that, because it's easier to manage using a Google Classroom import than what you have here. But for 99% of the teachers, go in, accept your pending classes that have been created. All right, so there are a couple of ways to launch GoGuardian. Once you've accepted your classes, you can do a quick launch just by clicking Start Class. You'll see that the default time is 45 minutes, so GoGuardian will run for 45 minutes and it will turn itself off. You can also schedule sessions to automatically start. And this is really nice if you don't want to have to go in and hit start class each time. You're going to do this by clicking on your calendar, click add to calendar, select your class, and schedule the times. And for upper school on a rotational schedule, make sure you have that bell schedule out so you can do your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for each of your different class periods. So let me show you what that's going to look like here in GoGuardian. As I'm going to calendar, add to calendar, I select my class, and this is where I can add in on a Monday what time that class is, and I add it to the calendar. That I add in my next period, I can add in another time of day, so I can do an entire week for that one class, and then I'll go ahead and do another class. All right. So the next thing that makes GoGuardian really phenomenal is that you can create scenes. And what scenes are is these are prescribed lists of what students are allowed to access during class time. So to create these lists, you're going to click Scenes. You want to do a scene that is an allowed website list. There is an option for blocking to create a blocking list. But the reason why that doesn't necessarily work as well is because sites are popping up like crazy. And so if we're trying to get students off of games, that blocked list is going to have to constantly be updated. Whereas if we say students are allowed to be in Google Classroom, Google Docs, Google Sheets, Gmail, the Hebron Hub, we can say these are the places they're allowed to be. So could they be off task? Potentially doing work for another class, but they aren't going to be on YouTube and they aren't going to be gaming, and so we are able to better restrict our classes. So again, we're going to click Scenes, Allowed Website List, and we're going to create a list. It will ask us to title the list, so you can call it your day-to-day. Maybe you're going to have an assessment list where you have, certain parameters if they're taking a digital assessment, and you'll click Next. And then you're going to arrive at a screen that looks like what I have here displayed. And this is where you would choose what websites students are and what applications students are able to access during your class. Now, there is an option for quick lists where we have some curated content of things that students need access to potentially. So look through the quick lists And then you can also add your own. So let me walk you through this visually. I'm in Scenes. I'm going to create a list. I'm going to call this my daily list 2. Now I'm on that screen that I had showed you before. I can click on Click Lists, and if I expand, I can see all of the different sites that are allowed on the HCA complete list. And so maybe I want to go ahead and add that. All right, so there are 57 websites that students are allowed to access during my class, but you'll notice that GoGuardian is intuitive. It says, hey, sometimes students will access Google to get to these different platforms through accounts.google.com. Do you want to add that? Absolutely. Anything that it's recommending is probably some type of authentication website. Now I could also come over here and let's say I wanted students to go to CNN.com. I type CNN.com, here it is, the breaking news, and I can add that to my list. The other thing I can do is restrict students to so many tabs. This is really good if you're creating an assessment scene where you want to keep them to just 1 or 2 tabs. But for a general class, you could also say, hey, the maximum is 4 tabs open. So it's an option for you. Once you're done, you will hit save, and that scene will be created for you. So you'll see I have my daily list too. All right. So you've accepted your classes, you've scheduled your classes, or you're going to do a quick launch. Now it's time to go ahead and actually apply the scenes that we've created. So there's a couple of ways that we can do this. If you want a particular scene that you created to automatically apply anytime a class is started, you probably want to set that as a default scene. And you can do that by accessing in your classes, going to the cogwheel for settings, and click Set a Default Scene. It will pull up a list of all of the scenes that you've created, and you can pick which one you want to apply every time a session is started. However, when you're in a scene, let's say you need to change, when you're in a class rather, let's say you need to change the scene, or maybe you didn't set a default scene, and while you're in the middle of class you want to apply a scene. This is what the teacher class view is going to look like with all of your students and pictures of their screens. You do have an option up here where you can apply any scene, or if you have a default and you need to change it because it's assessment time, you can quickly change it to a new scene right within the class view. So I hope this has helped you get started and just tip your toes into GoGuardian.